Before I run this brilliant clip of Noam Chomsky, he has previously argued that the inherent inequalities of wealth and power generated by capitalism create a situation where economic elites can exert undue influence over the political sphere. This can occur through lobbying, campaign finance, control of media and information, and other means. This influence undermines the principle of one person, one vote, and concentrates power in the hands of a few, effectively diminishing the voice and agency of ordinary citizens. Chomsky believes that the core values of capitalism, such as competition, individualism, and profit maximization, are fundamentally incompatible with the ideals of democracy, such as equality, cooperation, and public good. He argues that the pursuit of self-interest in a capitalist system often comes at the expense of social solidarity and collective well-being. This can lead to policies that prioritize the interests of wealthy elites over the needs of the broader population. Now to the clip followed up on Chomsky's views on limited democracies and public discourse.
Well, we have to decide first what we mean by capitalism and what we mean by democracy. If we mean by democracy that citizens have a equal share in participating in determining decisions that affect the society, then capitalism in any form is inconsistent with democracy, because it radically, in most forms I should say, there is a form of capitalism which could be consistent with democracy. It's the kind that Adam Smith advocated. Adam Smith was in favor of equality of outcome. In fact, one of his main arguments for markets is that under conditions of pure liberty, they will lead to equality. It's not a good argument, but that was the argument. If that could happen, which it can't, then you could say, yes, possibly it's consistent with democracy. Otherwise, capitalism is any form of really existing capitalism, or that's likely to exist, will have sharp inequalities. It's based on hierarchy, domination, production for profit, not need, accumulation of capital, deprivation of others, subordination of people who have to sell their labor in order to survive. And of course, that's going to translate automatically into any political arrangement, which will yield one or another form of plutocracy. We happen to have a pretty extreme form right now. So for example, right now in the United States, about roughly 70% of the population, lower 70% on the income scale, have no influence whatsoever on policy. Influence increases slowly as you move up the scale. At the very top, the question doesn't arise because they set the policy. So that's it's democracy in the sense you're allowed to push a button every couple of years, but it's a choice between factions of a business party with extremely enormous disparity of influence over policy. You can see that very clearly. You can see it just by, in fact, it's one of the main topics studied in professional political science. You just compare polling results on attitudes with policy. So, for example, just to pick one, for about 40 years now, there have been regular polls asking people what do they think about tax policy. And large majorities are in favor of much higher taxes on the rich and on the corporate system. Policy goes the opposite direction. And the same is true on minimum wage, on national health, just about any topic you look at. There's a huge divergence. And that simply reflects the fact that capitalism in anything like the form we have, at least, is inconsistent with democracy. And you can see why virtually any quasi-capitalist arrangement would have similar problems. So the conclusion is the opposite of what Friedman says. Of course, he must mean something different by democracy. He may mean the right to push a button every 4 years, and not to participate in decision making.
Chomsky sees contemporary democracies as often being limited in scope, primarily focusing on political rights and neglecting economic rights. He argues that true democracy should extend to the economic sphere, allowing citizens to have a say in decisions that affect their livelihoods and working conditions. He criticizes the hierarchical structures and inequalities of power inherent in most capitalist workplaces, seeing them as incompatible with democratic principles. Chomsky argues that the concentration of power within corporate media and the influence of money in politics stifle public discourse and limit the range of voices heard. This, he believes, hinders informed citizen participation and debate, essential elements of a healthy democracy. Well, I hope you liked the video and give the channel a subscribe. Take care and bye-bye.